crushed by Bell. To the world, Ernesto was a legend, Mexico's greatest musician, a hero who lived seize the moment. But behind the fame was betrayal. He stole his best friend's songs, poisoned him, and built his empire on lies. In the land of the dead, he fought to protect that legacy. But the truth came out. As Miguel and Hector revealed his crimes, Ernesto tried to silence them in one last act of arrogance. He throws Miguel off in an attempt to end him. Luckily, Dante and his friend were able to save Miguel. As Ernesto went back on stage, everyone turned on him. He tried to win over his fans by singing to them, but that didn't work. After the tiger saved Miguel, he turned his attention to Ernesto. He took Ernesto on a ride flying around the stage. The tiger whipped him, sending him straight into a bell. As he tried to get back up, the bell fell right on top of him, ending him and his fraudulent career for good. Bird snack. Hopper was basically a monster, a grasshopper who enslaved an entire colony of ants through fear, intimidation, and cruelty. He believed he was untouchable, destined to rule forever. He even took out one of his own to prove a point to everyone. His rule over the grasshoppers mainly comes from instilling fear and seeing them mainly as pawns in his game to win against the ants. The ants were eventually able to overcome Hopper and his crew. A storm began which caused everyone to flee into hiding. Hopper went after Flick, trying to take him out one last time. Unfortunately for him, he was at the wrong place at the right time, and for the first time, Hopper was terrified. The bird taunted Hopper but eventually picked him up. The bird took Hopper over to its nest as supper for her little ones. Hopper was immediately ripped into shreds, ending him for good. Buried. Mordu was once a prince, proud, ambitious, unwilling to share power with his brothers. In his hunger for dominance, he sought a witch's spell, transforming himself into a monstrous bear. But the curse stole his humanity, leaving only a beast that reigned in terror for centuries. When Merida and her mother confronted him, the fight was brutal. Mordu was no ordinary bear. He was hatred incarnate, claws like spears, eyes burning with fury. But destiny waited in the circle of standing stones. In one desperate clash, the ancient rocks collapsed upon him, ending his cursed reign. And for the first time in centuries, his spirit rose, no longer a beast, but a man. A soul finally freed by death. Beyond fear, the Shadow Man. Charisma, charm, and danger wrapped in a smile. Dr. Facilier thrived on promises, cutting deals with the desperate and the greedy. But his true power came from friends on the other side, dark spirits who loaned him magic at a price. When Tiana and Naveen broke his schemes, that price came due. The shadows turned on him, rising like hands from the grave. Facilier begged, clawed, and screamed, but there was no escape. The spirits dragged him into their realm, sealing his tomb with a mocking grin on his own headstone. The man who lived by deals became the payment himself. Royal exit. In his village, Gaston was adored. Strong, handsome, the perfect hunter. But behind the muscles was vanity, cruelty, and an ego that couldn't stand rejection. When Belle chose the beast, Gaston rallied an army, not to protect his people, but to feed his pride. On the castle rooftop, the battle reached its climax. The beast, merciful even in rage, spared him. But Gaston's pride refused to surrender. He struck one last time, slipping, falling into the abyss below. No heroes farewell, no glory, just silence. The hunter became the hunted by his own arrogance. Burnt alive. Judge Frollo was the face of hypocrisy, a man who condemned others for sin while drowning in his own. He hunted Esmeralda, masked obsession with righteousness, and justified cruelty in the name of God. On Notre Dame's edge, fire blazing below, he raised his sword and declared, "He shall smite the wicked." In that instant, stone crumbled. A gargoyle came to life in judgment. Frollo slipped, falling into the inferno. His final words became his punishment. He wasn't God's instrument. He was the wicked all along. Downfall. Once hailed as the greatest explorer of his age, Charles Muntz's name was etched into history. But glory faded. Accusations of fraud, humiliation, and decades of obsession warped the man into something darker. He traded honor for obsession, chasing Kevin, the mythical bird, into madness. When Carl Fredricksen finally stood against him, Muntz's desperation boiled over. Sword in hand, he fought atop his massive airship, snarling like a man possessed. But ropes tangled, and his own arrogance sealed his fate. The explorer who sought to conquer the skies plummeted into the clouds below. The man who wanted to be remembered forever was forgotten in an instant. Wuxi Finger. Tai Lung was a prodigy, raised by Master Shifu, destined to be the dragon warrior. But when denied the dragon scroll, anger consumed him. He razed villages, challenged his master, and returned years later to claim what he thought was his by right. But the scroll revealed the truth. Power came not from destiny, but from within. And Po, the unlikeliest of warriors, stood against him. Their battle shook the Valley of Peace, claw against paw, fury against humor. And then came the move, the Wuxi Finger hold. With one whisper, skadoosh, Tai Lung vanished in a flash of golden light. The warrior who thought he was chosen was erased by the one who chose to believe,